everybody, welcome along to episode 142 of Percussion Discussion. Before we get into it, please check out all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course our world famous YouTube channel, where you can find all of our previous conversations with the video to accompany. Please subscribe. You won't find any adverts, but it just really helps grow the channel, and it looks impressive, doesn't it, if we've got more people following us? So please do that. If you'd rather listen on the go, all of our conversations are available in podcast form. These are free to download from all of your favorite podcast even providers. So please rate and review 5 stars if you can manage that. And apparently it's a bit of a task to do that. So if you do it, I'd appreciate it. Leave some nice comments. Always appreciated. Thanks. On to today's guest, a fabulous drummer from Ireland. He's played with some amazing artists from Swell season, The Frames. He's played for Therapy. He's either recorded or toured with Rosanne, Tom Jones, Snow Patrol. He's done everything. He's a wonderful player and a great guy to talk to. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the rather wonderful Mr. Graham Hopkins.
No problem, and thanks so much for having me. It really is an honor.
Well, it's an honor for me too, as well. So we're all happy, hopefully. Anyway,
yeah.
So it's I don't know what time it is. It's 8:35, and it's been a very hot, sweaty day today. I don't know. Is it much the same for you over in Ireland?
Oh yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, it's very the same here, but it's kind of like the weather doesn't know if it's coming or going. One day it's really beautiful. The next day it's just oh my God, it's absolutely lashing rain. You know what I mean? It's schizo weather.
Yeah. Well, I've just caught sight of me, and I try not to look at myself in these things because obviously we're side by side, but I've just realized how red I am, like a bloody Belisha beacon here. So yeah, I'll try and edit that out after we've So look, I know you're busy, so I really appreciate you doing this even more. I know you've had sessions on this week.
I'm actually not as busy at the moment because I'm in my studio, and it's kind of like a kind of slow time because I'm not playing live as much. But I am recording a song tonight. I'm recording a Christmas song, believe it or not.
In this heat.
Yeah, it's very weird. I got asked by an artist in the States to record a Christmas song, and he's kind of under pressure to get it done. A great artist, and it's kind of like, what, has Christmas began already? So yeah, scary, but we're just over the 7 months, the 8 months. So yeah, it's officially Christmas time already.
The sleigh bells in it.
Yeah, there are sleigh bells in it. Yeah.
You didn't have to play. God. You didn't have to put those on, did you?
I didn't. No, they're already on it.
That's something. That's taking the piss if you have to do that in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. And then go out to the scorching car outside and drive back home.
So you're not exactly in the festive mood just yet. Then I'm glad to hear.
I'm not. No, I'm in a beautiful summer. Palamba Blanca. I'm in a summer mood.
Well, look, you've mentioned that you're in the studio there now. Obviously, from this angle, we're seeing you sat on a couch. So, just tell us a little bit about your space there. Is it at your home, or do you have somewhere else where you?
No, I'm very fortunate that well, it's only about a minute's drive from my house, so it's great. I like if I go home, I could go home for dinner, or if I have to, I am a dad, so if I have to pick up my girls from anything like a dance class or from school or anything like that, and if I'm in the middle of doing a session and then I can run out and then run back or whatever, it's really convenient. And I only really started working in my own studio about a year before COVID, and it couldn't have been a more convenient time
to start.
Yeah, and I really was busy throughout the whole of that period. Like the last 4 years, 5 years have been genuinely so busy.
Mm.
And I suppose as well because so many artists were kind of locked up at home recording music in their kind of studios in their houses. Um, and then they were doing their own thing, and then they needed a drummer or other musicians to play in it. They were sending lots of songs or albums or EPs or what is it to me. So I had an enjoyable time. I've got over that thing of sounding crude about saying, I enjoyed COVID, but I did enjoy that kind of
Yeah.
professionally. I enjoyed it. You know.
Same here. COVID for me
Yeah.
was the podcast started over COVID, but
Yeah.
I for me it was slightly different. I've spent so much time with my son who was like maybe 2 or 3 then, and we
Right.
were out walking every day. We're very rural here. We weren't getting in the way of anybody. I taught him to count, taught him the alphabet, and
Right.
and I'm very lucky. Unlike some. I had some great grants. I've paid a good chunk of tax over the years, so I got
Yeah.
the grants, and it was like, this is cool. I don't need to, don't need
Yeah.
somebody
I
else.
suppose like it was the same for me. You got that kind of wage from the government. You got paid every week, and it certainly helped out in so many ways.
Yeah,
So many ways, and I'd be lost without it because, like so many of like us musicians, along with like crew members, sound men, engineers, and studios weren't, working at all, and it certainly helped so many of us out. Would have been lost without it. Um, and it was great. It really was great. And whereabouts do you live?
I am as I'm looking out of my window now, I'm in North Wales, and I'm looking out to
Right.
the Irish Sea, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, and it's
So you're
beautiful.
just you're only around the corner.
Stones, a big stone's throw, but yeah, a stone's throw nonetheless. Yeah.
So are you near Holyhead?
No, I'm about an hour from Holyhead, I suppose,
Right.
or something like that. But yeah, not too far, really. In the grand scheme of things.
Sure, I'll nip over to you and we go for a cup of coffee.
There you go. Yeah, we'll scrap the Zoom.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So, but yeah, in the grand scheme, we're not that far apart. Just, I'd say I'm looking straight out to sea now. It's a lovely sunset,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
it looks very nice too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So your studio, obviously, you said a year before COVID, that couldn't have been any better. You were already rolling. Were you already kind of cool with the recording techniques and what the general ability to record? Did you already have that, or was that something you had to learn?
Well, it's definitely something I learned, but from doing so many sessions, so much recording, over the years, I had learned a lot, with my eyes from pointing and going, oh yeah, do that and do that and do that. But it did teach me a lot. But then sitting down and actually doing it myself, um, it I don't think it took me as long as I would have thought it did. And with the amount of the camaraderie between musicians, as we all know, I had lots of close friends that if there was any problem, I could ring them up at any time, and it would, really help. They'd help me out, like we all would, and that really helped. It's all times, and I'm still learning. And YouTube, my goodness, we'd be lost without it. In that kind of way. And I'm actually having like I was here last night, and I use Logic Pro, and I had a small problem that I hadn't had before. So I was scouring through YouTube, and I 99% have it sorted. So YouTube has been a great help because of the amount of people similar to us that you learn something. I certainly wouldn't do it, but the amount of people that as soon as they have a problem, it's like they post
Yeah.
on the net their problems. But from over the years, working with so many sessions with so many producers, doing so many sessions about general kind of miking of a kit, the different kind of ways in different rooms, the different methods, and not being afraid to ask questions to engineers or producers, and just room mics. And yeah, I've definitely learned a lot in that. And so I became obsessed over the last few years in either, really into microphones, and
Yeah.
buying a lot of microphones and preamps and stuff. Really enjoyable. And pedals as well, to work along with the drums. And yeah, really enjoyable.
So you're getting really deep to the microphones, and do you get into the
Yeah,
vintage stuff as well? And
yeah, vintage stuff along with the new stuff. Yeah, it's a blend. But like, I could be spending a lot more money, and a lot of people do, but it's kind of that mix of um a lot at the heart of it. I think the musician, and it's my feelings at the end of it. The musical performance is the thing that's, vitally important. And
it's,
if you just have good gear, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of pounds.
yeah, and
But I've got good gear.
yeah, and so I mean, and I'm guessing everybody's happy with the result they get audio wise. I guess a lot of time you'll send the stems out uneq'd. You'll just say, "Look, this is it. Do your
Yeah,
thing."
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I do. And I haven't got, fingers crossed, touch wood, and all that. I haven't got any complaints yet. All's been good, unless I get a big complaint for the session I'm doing tonight. So far, everything's been really, really good, and I'm, yeah, really enjoying it. So long may it continue.
Absolutely. Do you do you get cabin fever working on your own a lot, or are you kind of all right with that? Are you quite cool with your
Yeah.
own company?
No, like, it's kind of like, I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. But at the same time, I did a session in Dublin in the studio last week, and I enjoyed it because it was just, it was like getting out and doing another session. So it's kind of a mix and match of both. But I just really, and being in charge of my own density, as they'd say in Back to the Future. But it's just, yeah, and I'm in charge, and there's nobody stopping me or coming up with their own ideas that kind of might make sense, and then sending on the session, or if the producer might come back with ideas, just sending them to and fro. It's good, and I'd be sitting beside my computer and stopping and starting where I want, rather than having other people, kind of in the way. I just really like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's the general kind of flow that I do like. And a few times I've had other musicians or friends playing along with me, but I just like my own, peaceful environment, being on my own, very much.
And do you find that if you, like you said, you were in Dublin last week, do you find yourself maybe not saying it, but thinking, I wouldn't have mic'd it like that personally. I'd have done it this way. Or do you have to just put those
Yeah,
thoughts to one side and just go,
yeah, yeah. You have to be the kind of pro,
yeah,
and the kind of, yeah, cool. I'll do whatever is required for the song,
yeah,
and then at the same time that they've invited you to do the show, to do the gig, to do the session, so they know why they've asked you to do the gig. So but I'm always open to their interpretation or whatever they require for the song, of course.
absolutely. Well, that makes it work,
Yeah,
doesn't it? That's the way it should be. Now,
yeah,
obviously, we've talked about your love of microphones and stuff, but if you have a duff sounding kit, the best microphones in the world aren't going to help that. And everything I've ever heard that you've done, the drums always sound beautiful. they're warm, they're beautiful textures. That's your thing, isn't it? There's a bit,
Oh yeah.
a little bit of the Jay Belrose thing, perhaps I'm hearing. Is I don't know. Maybe that's not.
Oh,
Maybe.
you've said a fantastic thing there. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's what I hear, and it's like, yeah, it's yeah, organic is a good word, I think.
Yeah, completely. I think like as much as we all know the modern kind of feel, the modern drummers, I kind of love that kind of old school kind of feel. There's so many drummers like I've recently just kind of finished. Well, it's a few months ago now, but even that kind of Jim Gordon book.
Oh yeah.
Jim Gordon. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just his playing.
Hmm.
Obviously his story. We all know his story, but it kind of opened me up towards his scenario as far as the sessions that he did, and I've been listening to him a hell of a lot. And then I've so much appreciation of Jay Belrose's approach to drumming, which is very different.
Hmm.
And yeah, the one kit I think I would absolutely love to get is a rolling bomber. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's the only real kit now that I'd love to get because of all the wooden lid boxes and the
So
wooden, yeah. Oh, I love it. I think it would just be
I
so
know.
warm and so raw.
Oh,
Would you like one?
I know. Well, yeah, definitely. I know Luke Bullen has one, and
Right.
as Mark Jeff's not got one in that you could.
He's had a couple in, but like then it'd be like, oh God, now it's not the right time.
Yeah.
Shit, I have to get another mortgage on the house or something like that.
The
But
only
he's
I would
brilliant.
Rolling
Yeah,
Bomber is amazing, obviously because of the story of why they are obviously with the wartime and stuff. But
yeah,
I'd be so worried about breaking it. The wooden
yes,
lugs.
yeah,
They do sound incredible. That warmth,
yeah.
but you'd be terrified.
They
You
really,
wouldn't take that on the road, would you?
Jesus Christ, no, no. Like I've got a kit in front of me here. It's an old 50s WFL, and when I was in therapy, the band therapy, and
Yes.
I acquired it first, I brought it out on the road. I used to smack the shit out of it, and then when I found out a lot more about it, I immediately put it into retirement. I used to stand on top of it at the end of the gigs and stuff. I was, a lot younger, and then I put it into retirement, and I only use it like on sessions now. Like I brought it up the other day on the session, and it sounds amazing. The kick drum, especially, has got so much warmth out of it. I adore the kick drum on it, and yeah, like a rolling bomber, the idea of bringing such a precious old vintage bass drum like that is
Yeah.
like no way. Like and of course Jay Bellows has like a drum tech or crew or flight cases that it's going to be
Yeah.
beautifully handled.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. He knows the value.
Oh
Um,
God, he does.
but
Yeah.
they're just, hey, one day, Graham, you never know. You never know.
I will. Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I will.
It's because you like the vintage stuff, don't you? And it's no.
I do. Yeah, and that's what I do love about. I started playing Ludwig again about just the year before, indeed the company I was with before that, but I started playing Ludwig again just the year before. I'm looking over here because I'm looking at Ludwig drums. And the thing I love about Ludwig now, their new drums, is that beautiful vintage feel of and warmth and tone of their drums in general.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's no real loud snap crack of their drums. It's just that warmth. Of course, you could tune them, put heads on them for that. crack. But personally, I prefer, like, I've got a Legacy, and I got one of their new Sonics last year, and I still love it. I love the warmth of those toms, um, and all their snares. My favorite snare these days is it's copper phonic. It's a hand hammered copper phonic, and yeah, I just kind of worship at the altar of Ludwig drums. So to be with them is, I'm very proud to be playing Ludwig drums.
Sure, sure. Well,
Yeah,
you're a good ambassador for them. The sounds that you coax out of them, I mean, it's just what's not to love. It's war. I love the
yeah,
tones you get. I see the social media videos you put out, with snippets of them, and
yeah.
that's the sound that attracts me all the
That's
time.
great. That's great. Like, what kind of drummers are you? It's always a hard thing, but the kind of drummers that you might be into and the kind of music,
Oh, dear me. Do
it's
you know what?
hard.
It is a
Yeah.
difficult one. Do you know one of my favorite drummers is Ralph Salmins, I have to say.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
love everything he does. He's just
Yeah.
the ultimate chameleon. Just
Yeah. Ah,
complete.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I hear you. And he's total groove merchant.
Oh,
Yeah, I always loved Ralph. He's yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
yeah.
Really is.
It's quite easy to say, oh, Steve Gadd and Steve Smith, and there are other people, not Steve. But do you know? But
Yeah.
I'd be lying. It's probably Ralph is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the reason for people like Ralph, and indeed, like, well, on a different kind of place, are people like, very different to Ralph, obviously, but Brian Blade is a
Mm.
person that I worship. But saying like Jim Gordon, or there are people like Jeff Beccaro, these are all kids that are people I loved when I was a kid and grew up to. And if I look at the kind of list of, let's say, 10 drummers that have heavily influenced me, and they're all drummers that I still worship. They're all generally just groove drummers. There's nobody that's a big kind of flamboyant. They're all kind of basic, just groove merchants, and I think that's been a big thing that's kind of kept me um the kind of drummer that I am today. I kind of get sidetracked, or kind of find myself kind of get not turned off. I kind of still look at those drummers and go, appreciation, like, that is great that you can play like that. It's fantastic. But I'd kind of start daydreaming and go, it's just not my style. I'm just not into it.
I totally agree.
Um, nothing against you. It's just not my time. It's like guitarists going. I'm more into a guitarist that's into, I don't know, a Bill Frisell musical, beautiful style, a musical, color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know if you're aware of him, Tony TC Coleman on a few weeks back,
All
who's
right. Yeah. Yeah. I
King's
am. I
drummer
didn't see it.
for I don't know 25 years, and
Yeah.
we were talking about just sitting on a groove, and I said I think maybe it's a thing that comes with age when you can appreciate just
Yeah.
locking in with a bass player and just sitting on the groove, not changing a thing, and just enjoying it and soaking it in. And I genuinely think
Yeah.
it's an age thing. You don't care about impressing anybody. It's just this feels nice, so I'm staying.
Yeah.
I'm not moving.
Yeah. That's it. And a lot of it is kind of course, playing for the song always, and just, I think it's loving that. And I learned even a lot more. Um, I toured with the Glen Hansard for beautiful songs. And I even learned a lot more about my own drumming, for my own drumming, from those. God, how many years was it? It was like 11, 12 years, because a lot of the gigs were kind of even, very, it was very, melodic lyrically. It was, and it's very eclectic.
Yeah.
I could be just doing that for, you know, the majority of the song, but I just got in so much into the song. and then there could be a section in the song that just builds up, and then and then the next song could be just all brushes.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about for my own drumming, and yeah, it was great.
Dynamics, it just makes music, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Ah, even
yeah,
saying it now, my mouth's watering. It's just like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ah. But the stuff you did with the frames, Dance to the Devil, always beautiful textures, just lovely stuff. That must have been nice to do as well.
Yeah, I suppose like all the stuff with the frames really,
Yeah.
because it was kind of it was kind of like always been the same because of those songs, and always kind of even like throwing stuff
Mm.
on its head a lot and kind of trying maybe to coming up with a different groove, but at the same time making that groove simple.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Which I really enjoy playing with the frames, and it's kind of even with drumming and other sessions, I've brought that with me. So rather than just playing the 2 and the 4, I play like in a different kind of place, which I've learned. So, and they're great songs that they write, that Glenn writes with the band.
Yeah.
So those albums that I've played on with the frames, I hold very close to me,
Oh,
and I really do, just great tunes, and I do. I've tried to kind of throw stuff on its head, like I've said.
mm.
In particular, there's 2 albums I always get. There's The Cost and the other one after it, and I started doing stuff because of Stephen Fitzmaurice, who is the producer, and it was the first time I started using. It was a Roland Trio One, the Space Echoes,
Oh,
and I started. Yeah, and I started. It's the first time we were recording the album in France, and I started, and I have one myself here, and I rather than putting an effect afterwards, I started putting one beside me, and with a couple of pedals, and playing along and setting the tempo or the kind of delay,
live.
and with a couple of Moog pedals, and it would totally set up a groove and would make you even play slightly different with the groove, and it would adjust things for myself, and it would kind of even shape the song or the band in a different way, right? Because you're playing along with the delay, so it could be like instead of just being a it's and so thanks to that album, I had to get one, and it's just gone on since then, and that was Jesus. That's probably 20 years ago or so now,
So you're not afraid to experiment then?
No, I've got pedals. I love pedals. I've got plenty of pedals over there, I've got, I don't know, are you familiar with Madison Cunningham?
No, I'm not.
She, beautiful singer-songwriter from the States, absolutely beautiful, amazing guitarist with all these open tunings. And she brought out this JHS pedal a few months ago. And I love that pedal along with the Roland Space Echo. All mad things. You have to experiment. It's wonderful recording.
Oh.
Oh
like a
yeah,
kid, like a kid at Christmas. Fantastic.
yeah. God, yeah, completely. Yeah,
As your, I mean, it's a difficult one to ask this, but therapy, which you're perhaps
yeah,
best known for, as you're playing, was the playing that you do now in you then? Because obviously it's a very different band. It's a hard hitting
yeah.
band. Are you
Yeah.
still were you still the same drummer then? Do you think, or have you
If
matured
if I
and
listen, if I listen back to therapy in any way, which when was that? A few months ago, somebody sent me some stuff, and I forget what it was, but and there was these little kind of I can't call them signature bits, but they were kind of like little things that I still do now. And I was like kind of in my early 20s. And they're kind of like things that I still do now. It was just that I was considerably younger and I had this ball of energy inside me. And I was playing songs that were probably 150 million BPM faster, you know? And, but my God, like drumming wise, I was hitting the shit out of the drums, was playing so much faster. But I enjoyed that time drumming with the band for sure. I think my drumming has got so much better since then because I've learned so much from so much not particularly drummers, but so much different, so much eclectic taste musician music,
Hmm.
bands, artists, and I was kind of starting to learn when I was in therapy. I wasn't by no means was it just rock, you know. Like the funny thing about therapy, even when the first album that I recorded with the band's semi-detached, I remember I was
Bought that
listening.
album. I remember buying it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to with my wife the other day because we were listening to Nick Drake, and I remember I was listening to Nick Drake when I was recording that album, along with like things like Scott Walker and the Cardigans and stuff like that. But I was at the same time listening to Helmet and Shellac and bands like that. But the amount of singer songwriters I was listening to, I was never just stuck in the rut of listening to hard, heavy.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas the rest of the band might have been. I'm not accusing them by any means of, but I just loved it, and yeah, great musical times playing with that band. I learned a hell of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next album with the band, Suicide Pact, You First, drumming wise, it's my favorite
Yeah.
album with the band. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's some great drum sounds on that album as well. I don't mind saying. I
Yeah.
still hear, even though the music is pretty full on, I'm still hearing slight vintage tones, even back, and we must be talking 98. No.
Uh,
Is it
uh,
98?
99, not
99. 98.
19, yeah, not,
That's
I
wasn't
think
it?
99. I think it was the summer of 99. I could be wrong. And that was the WFL kit I used on
Oh,
Suicide Pact.
right.
Yeah.
That,
I,
that
I,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, I got
Yeah.
that just before it. And that was my first recording on it. And my goodness, it does sound amazing on that album.
But you can still hear that vintage warmth, which a lot of albums at that time sound very processed and very the drums sound very processed, and that's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it does. Like it does. And that was Head recorded that, who did several PJ Harvey albums. And he's totally into that
Yeah,
live, raw sound. And, we worked on that live, raw sound. And that's what the album was about as well, And there was such a joy recording that album. And I love that album for exactly that
yeah.
purpose that you just mentioned.
I think Big Cave In, me, that's just such a cool song. Is
Yeah, my favorite on the album.
he
Yeah,
really? Oh wow,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes me feel quite happy knowing that. Then my favorite
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
great. That's
Uh,
great. That really
that's
is.
unusual. We don't normally, when you say this is my favorite song, and they'll say, "Oh, really? Oh, hmm."
Yeah. No, my
Yeah,
favorite. Like total instrumental. It was totally like, wow. It was great. Loved it.
but those tones, are there, and ah, I mean, let's talk therapy for a little while. It must have been
Yeah,
because obviously they were already a well-established band.
yeah,
Was it quite a departure for you? I'm assuming the gigs went from steady gigs to all of a sudden to massive crowds. I'm assuming.
yeah. like the band that I was in before that was great fun.
Yeah.
It was like a younger band, and we were having a lot of fun. I was living in Los Angeles and in Ireland, coming and going, and then the opportunity came up like to audition for therapy, and they asked me to join the band. It was like, holy shit,
Mm.
I'm in I'm in therapy, this band, MTV, that's what you could think of, because they had that big MTV name, as well as that living in Ireland, they had this big name because of this kind of independent kind of independent punk scene, and especially with these guys that lived around where I live. And there was a lot of kind of serious credibility. And when I joined the band, a lot of these guys around where I live were like, well done, Graham. Holy shit, you're in therapy. And I remember touring around the States, first of all, with Girls Against Boys. Instead of going straight on a tour bus, the band wanted to go on in like this Ford Econoline van.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I've just lived in a Ford Econoline for the last 3 years with this band, My Little Funhouse. I thought we were going to be getting on a tour bus and living the life of Riley, but no. But I still had the greatest of fun for a few months touring the States, and we did tours with the likes of Vince Neil or not Vince Neil, that was with the other band, with Ozzy Osbourne and Girls Against Boys, amazing tour. And then we came back, and the first festival we did was Pink Pop, and we played in front of about 100,000 people, and it showed, like in Europe wise, it showed therapy where they were at their most, big name, popular MTV Europe, credible, successful band. And I remember seeing, I think it was Alanis Morissette or somebody like that, or Pink or Rage Against the Machine, and then we were on, and I think I puked up, and I went on, and holy shit, I kind of felt comfortable within the first few bars of the song, and that's the big moment I remember, just becoming comfortable, really comfortable in the band, and it was a moment obviously I'll never forget.
I can't imagine. I mean, you've just summed it up beautifully there. But 100,000 people, and you got to sit and probably or possibly not even sound checked. You don't know what you're going to get through your
No, no,
Phil.
no. It was mind blowing, and it's on. I remember somebody gave us it was VHS before going home, and I brought that home. I'm bringing it home to my parents, and they watched it, and it was like, oh my God, Graham, you've made it. Oh my God. And then it's all on YouTube now, and I haven't seen it in a few years. I remember watching it, and it was like I was this young kid and going, that's the moment I kind of, when it happened, and going and thinking about how anxious I was when I got up first. And it was such a moment for me. And obviously the band Therapy were used to playing those big festivals.
Sure.
And that was the one festival where I that was it when I landed.
Yeah.
But for me before that, it honestly wasn't about that for me. It was always about playing drums and endorsements and playing like Zildjian and stuff. But that moment playing Pink Pop with Zildjian, with Therapy, that was like, holy shit,
I've
So
arrived.
I've arrived. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? That's just a magical story. It really is.
Mm.
And did you say at the moment that you're not doing much touring? It's mainly sessions. Is that
Yeah,
you would you call yourself? It's a cliche term these days, a session drummer. Is that what you do more of? Would you
yeah.
say?
Even if it's a cliched term, it's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
absolutely fine.
yeah.
Since, like, let's say back then, before I was with the band I was with before therapy, my little funhouse, the last the last years of my life have been on the road, you know, have been living, on a tour bus pretty much, and then recording an album and then going back on the road. And I suppose between this and that, and then having kids, married and having kids, things changed ridiculously. And I know you have kids, and being away from them, I was away from them a hell of a lot when they were babies.
Which is when you want
And
to be around them to see them grow because they go so quickly, doesn't it?
ridiculously, they're kind of like, one is an adult now, and the other one's, in her the second half of her teenage years now. And I want to be around a lot more, so I kind of handed in, for the moment anyway, kind of handed in my my touring sticks, and I picked up my studio sticks.
Could
And
you? Well, carry
yeah.
on. Well, I was going to say, is there anybody that would convince you to maybe go out on a 3-month, 4-month tour? Is there any?
Yeah,
Is
well, not just at the moment.
no.
Not just at the moment. I'm happy doing this, but let's see what happens, in, like, in a year or 2 or 3, because I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying being at home without kind of that thing of zipping up the suitcase again and going, okay, girls, I'm off to live on a bus for X amount of months again, and living online again. And I've so many photos of having conversations online and taking photos on my computer of them online, and then taking pictures of me going, "Oh, no," online. And I'm enjoying being home and having this place, but I'm still doing some gigs in Ireland,
Yeah.
and I do little trips like to the UK or to wherever. And that's cool because I'll do little trips and then come home, or do gigs here or there, do shows around Ireland, which I really enjoy because I get to come home, or trips here and there. But, you know,
If you never did it again, and you're you're still a young man in relative terms, younger than me. There's plenty of time for that. If
oh yeah,
Even if you never did it again, look what you've done. It's all there written in history. And if you can get your kicks in the studio and playing in your home country, then, and of course the good thing for you, of course, touring in Europe's not an issue, is it? Whereas
it's not,
all the
certainly
all the
not.
British drummers, it's like, oh, that's it. Is it 90 days or something? And that's your lot in the
Oh
year.
God, yeah. I mean, I certainly am saying that I'm never touring again.
No, no.
I just, I know. And then, like Europe, like you said, I just want to take a rest now, and it was just perfect timing, just before COVID. It was like, it couldn't have come at a better time. Who sings that? I think it's some Irish singer, but and it was cool. Like, I had such great fun. The last, like we mentioned earlier on, or I mentioned, with Glen Hansard and Marketa Erglova and Glenn, when they won the Oscar, and we had several years out, and it was such fun, and because we're great pals, all of us, the musicians that go back years, and it was so comfortable. And but then it was like, okay, I'll just hang up and hang out with my girls,
That's nice.
and it's great, really nice, and I'm loving it. I'm loving life. it sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, but it's cool having my own place. I never thought I'd have my own place like that, like this. I didn't, never looked into it so much as I did now. And yeah,
But do you know what? How nice to have the ability to
yeah,
earn money whenever you want, and for a minute from the house. And if you go, well, I'm not doing it today. How nice is that? You can just get on
yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
yeah. I still have to just cover the rent of the place. So you just have to do a couple of sessions to do that or whatever, you know? And then other than that, it's just a joy to come up and even just enjoy hanging out or, talk to yourself, talk to your friends and um practice is a big thing. And even I released a couple of solo albums, and that's nearly 20 years ago. So I'm getting on the pig's back as regards doing that myself now, because I haven't really done anything in that regard for
Yeah.
too long now, so
Life's
makes
good.
you kind of pull your socks up. Well, I suppose life's good if you kind of convince yourself and kind of try to, you know, try to. Okay, life's good. Is it? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Come on, life's good. It has to be. You know.
You're smiling. You got the family close by. So
Yeah.
you said practice. Do you ever just come in and just play for the sake, for the pure joy of playing drums? Just sit down.
It's funnily enough, yeah. Last night I kind of did, and I got kind of locked into it, and I was playing for a while. As for kind of practicing rudiments, as for practicing, various kind of different styles or grooves, it's since I was a kid when I started playing, it always bores the shit out of me. What about you? Would you kind of practice any sort of rudiments or anything?
I have a set few, and because I teach, you see, so I like to keep my.
Right.
I don't want to have my ass handed to me by a 12-year-old kid, so I have to keep my hands
Yeah.
reasonably. But do I
Yeah.
use them? Possibly not. I maybe flams, drags, paradiddles, not much more than that. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, no, I'm not.
I suppose, but like, would you agree that without even though we play, without even noticing and unnoticeably, we play those?
I think so. I'd agree
Yeah,
with that. Yeah, totally.
yeah. And now that we've been playing so long, they just come naturally to you. And that's the thing about playing drums. That's the great thing about doing it. And that's the way it kind of, not that it should be, but all of these things
Hmm.
just naturally come. And I think it's also a thing that the amount of music that we all listen to, you listen back to maybe recordings and you go, oh my God, shit, that's that Phil from such and such a drummer that I just brought into this. Shit, hope nobody notices. You know,
Yeah, and do you know another thing? I know you play. I think is it four-piece kit you play, Graham?
four piss or
Generally.
four piss. Yeah, well, on this kind of last kit, I did get two rack toms, and I used them for a slight while, and I stopped using the extra rack tom, and then sometimes I use an extra floor tom, but generally it's four piece.
Yeah. Well, I think because I only use four drums myself, and I think
Yeah,
sometimes you have to be a little bit more creative, and you do that by adding a few, as you say, subconsciously adding a few rudiments in, and it just happens, I think, and you have
yeah,
to, when you've only got two toms, you've got to kind of
yeah.
think outside the box a little bit, haven't you?
Last night I was doing stuff. It's like it's not a huge thing, but last night I was playing and I started leading with my left instead of my right, and it was just thing, and I started doing it, and I just got caught in the trap
Yeah,
of doing it for ages.
bit of
Like
Ringo,
there's
bit of Ringo going on.
yeah, exactly. And there's so many left-handed drummers that we know. Even my father's the same. He plays and he's left-handed, and he plays on a right-handed kit. And sometimes he would unknowingly he'll kind of start a fill with his left,
Yeah,
but he won't admit it. He'll say he always kind of plays with his leads with his right. But it's such a great way to play, isn't it?
Oh,
you know,
open. Yeah, absolutely.
it leads, leading with your left and playing that way, it's great. If you can't see my hands, I'm just saying playing like that.
Oh, look, Graham, this has been an absolute pleasure. I
Thanks, Maddie. Thank you.
been a joyful hour. We've spoke for ages before hitting record as usual. That normally happens.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
minutes after I stop. Um, but yeah, honestly, I really appreciate you giving up your time, and I hope I get to catch you over the if you wander over our waters back over here. And I know
Yeah.
you did the UK drum show. Was it last year or the year before? You did it for Ludwig, I think. I
It's,
couldn't get in, unfortunately. It was quite a small room, wasn't it? Like a
yeah, it was great.
Ludwig
I really enjoyed
experience
it.
group or whatever it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really, really great room. Just playing. Ludwig asked me to do it, and it was great. And I did it on the both days. It was really good fun. And I don't know yet if I'm going to go over. We'll see closer to the time. And then did I go? I didn't go over the year before that, did I? Lost my memory. I've done it a few times. I did Mike Dahlberg's room before. That was great fun.
Great footage of
And
that as well.
all right, okay. So it's just great having such a great show, drum show, just so on our doorstep. So it's a must have. It's a must go.
Indeed. Well, I shall be there both days, so hopefully, if you do go,
Right.
we'll,
Yeah. Yeah.
have
We'll touch base without doubt. Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much, Graham. Honestly, you're a
Well, come here. Thanks for inviting me along. It's been great chatting to you, Maddie.
total pleasure, mate. Total pleasure. So, see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Bye.